Hey, welcome to the Tolleson Mack podcast, day 2 of podcasting live from the Las Vegas Convention Center in this awesome room. I'd like to thank Bo with Las Vegas Events for getting us this room. Right.
Turtle box, hoof,
Turtle box,
hoof grip,
hoof grips on board,
rope with Caesar,
rope with
Trisha
Caesar,
Price.
Cattleman's Processing, Flint Farms. I
Farms.
mean, the list goes on and on, really.
Hauser built retriever trucks.
But we're not here to talk about all those guys. We're here to talk about this guy and to this guy. Coleby Payne, how are you?
Good.
How
The
about you
painkiller. The
Yeah.
painkiller.
No, we're doing good. We're doing good. It's the first one of the day. Still early in the morning. We were over at the Junior World Finals watching a guy we support, a youngster, and you called, so we rushed over here.
Perfect.
Yeah. How'd the finals go for you last night?
Last night was a good start. We won 6 last night, made a nice run, 4-7. It was kind of exactly how I pictured us starting, just kind of start chipping away. I think first time here, I definitely was glad to get the first one behind me.
Yeah. We had somebody on yesterday, and Caesar, you'll remember who said this. Maybe it was Colin. I don't know. Maybe it was Cole, but he said that that's the smallest arena when you're running out of room and the biggest arena when you miss.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah. Like right there, you got to do a little fist pump when you're walking out, and you only got a couple, and the next thing you're out of the arena.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make sure we're gonna keep it positive.
Adrenaline is rolling so hard, everything happens that much faster,
How was your horse last night? Was he psyched up? How was that? I was first
My-
time ever running one in there.
He once we got in there, he was all business, but like in the warm up arena and like walking around the side of the building, getting up there, I almost got off and let him because I thought he was just gonna run off, and I'm like, I think he's gonna be on the money tonight.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, he's probably feeling the same thing you are, right? Like he's the bright lights.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's fireworks, everything's
I
going
think
off.
he knew we were here.
Flag ladies running by you at 100 miles an hour. Yeah, I seen one flag lady about fell off last night when she was going back through the catch pin. But
I
Yes.
got T-boned in the Grand Entry
Did you?
about as hard as can be. I thought,
well, yeah, no wonder he was nervous then.
We'll start off with that. What was that like? That experience like right there?
wow, practice, like, you don't know what to expect. Practice, nobody's paying that much attention to it, and then you get in there and you're trying to make sure everybody's single file headed out the gate, and then the sketchy part is like I'm in the middle with Texas coming out the back gate trying to make sure you get paired up with somebody. So by the time everybody gets situated in your little circle right there, you're like, everybody's, all right, who's going to pair up with who? And then they're like, all right, it's go time. So
And then
You
right in
just
the middle,
kinda-
like 10 roughies come through.
you just kind of head out full blast and just hoping that your knees don't get the panel right.
They make you practice perfect too. They make you get it right in the
Yeah.
practice, and then when you get to the rodeo, everybody's just kind of just whatever. I think it's so funny.
the 8th, 9th, and 10th round of the Grand Entry is sometimes almost as fun as watching the bull riding. Like it's
Promising.
pretty awesome. Like it gets a little wild.
So okay, we get around the building now. We went through the Grand Entry. Your heart's pumping. You're ready to go. Now they close the gates for the bulldoggers. Now it starts to get serious back there. Kind of
It
talk to
is.
us about that, and then about the time they rolling the doors up and start calling the team ropers. Tell us about the nerves.
I've
and kind
told-
of what's going on.
I've told everybody, I mean, you can prepare for the moment and
No way.
run it through your head as many times as you want, and you get to the back, and I'm just walking around kind of swinging my rope, like just another place. They load you in the moat down there, and it was, I guess, they start team roping. You're kind of paying attention right there, and your blood gets to pumping, and it's time to
Even when you're trying
it's
to be
time to
calm,
lock
no
in.
matter what you tell yourself.
But I'm telling you, when they swing that little gate open and it's your time, that I felt like I blacked out, honestly.
Yeah, we hear that from a lot of people, right? They're like, yeah, all those people in there, and you can't hear nothing.
that was all the
What's
years of
crazy
training.
about here, though, it shows how big of a deal it is the guys that have been here 15 times will still tell you when they back in there, they have the same feeling,
That's awesome.
But so now we're back in the box. You're sitting there, you're jittery, you're looking at over there across the chute.
No, well, I don't know. I think kind of I've made that run so many times, adrenaline is crazy. You're locked in. My horse stood in there perfect, like usually my horse, he's never gonna spin out or anything, but he's usually moving just a little. And for whatever reason, we got in there last night, head inside, stood flat footed. The steer was gentle in the chute, so I'm like, perfect. I'm gonna get a good.
You
roll
did something
here.
right.
And so it was really pretty smooth sailing.
That was awesome. So, like, it's all the years of training to have led up to this moment, and I think that's kind of why you just turned yourself loose. All the, your adrenaline took over everything.
Yeah,
You healed the steer, and then as soon as you pulled back on the feet, it was clean because you were the start of them right in the middle of them good runs right there. And then you probably looked up at your dad, and kind of looked up at the crowd. What was that like?
that was pretty cool. I spotted him in the grand entry. I knew where
You
they
knew right
would
where
be.
he was?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome right there.
That's pretty cool. How hard is it to see people out in the crowd? I know that's a silly question, but I mean, is it just like a big blur? Or?
I saw my signs, so
Okay,
that
okay.
was a little bit of help.
Yeah.
But it would not be very
Well,
easy,
like
I
when you
would say.
first look, especially the grand entry, right? They're everywhere. They're on top, top of you. It feels like
Literally.
it's wild, man. Like it's so claustrophobic. You feel the energy.
How many
everywhere.
people does it seat? Do you know?
18,000.
18,000.
18,000, and
Yeah.
it's the action packed adrenaline. Like there's no, Clay Cooper's my hero just because he looks. I know in his heart it's pumping, but he's been the calmest that I've ever seen in the box, and kind of come out of there. You might get a fist pump when he wins a day money every now and again, but man, he keeps his composure. Like when I talked about when you dally and you it's clean, you look in the score, the clock right there behind the chutes, and it says 4, and you all that just comes out. Like you just want to just like fist pump. You want to do a backflip off your horse, right? It's awesome, man. No other feeling like that, and I think that's what you talked about earlier. Like guys that have been there that long, that there's nothing like that feeling.
I know people think it's cool to come to Vegas and watch that, but I don't think they truly know the behind the scenes of what we've put in to get here and how much we care. I mean, it's our life, and so for us, I know it's awesome for everybody coming to watch, but for us too, it's all we've ever wanted,
Took you a long time to be an overnight success, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Took you a long time to make that run out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, you pull back, you see your dad in the crowd, you ride out. Like, I think the listeners would like to know, like, what you and your header, I'm sure, talk as you guys are walking out of there, right? Or you're fist bumping or whatever you're doing. But then after that, do you hang out? You go eat dinner? Go back and watch the roping? What do you do? I mean, what's a normal after the NFR evening for Coleby Payne?
Usually go back to the room,
Where you staying at?
Resort World.
Oh, okay.
Get some dinner with the family, play a few cards here and there.
Just a couple, probably.
Some good friends are coming in and out of town, and hang out with them for a few hours, and try not to be out too late. It seems like every day pretty early we get busy again, and you look up and it's time to go to the rodeo.
Well, somebody said yesterday that's the
Oh,
problem
yeah.
because you have fresh friends coming in. Probably you schedule it like that because of tickets.
Family, all that stuff.
You know what I mean? So
That's
you
what
got to be
Colin
on
said.
point.
He said, like, every couple of days you get a fresh set of friends, and you've been here for 6, 7, 8 days, and they're showing up wanting to hang out and party, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Still having to support them. And
Mornings they're coming early. Yesterday I was up at 5:00. I was joking with Clay. I texted him. I said, "Would I be the only guy to just go ahead and head that way and saddle and start swinging my ropes?"
Would it be weird?
Yeah. Probably not. You'd probably get there, and there'd be a bunch of other guys there too.
Man, it's like that there. It's like this is the biggest moment of your life, kind of, and you got 9 more rounds of it. We got your dad sitting here with us, Mr. Michael Payne, and let's talk about that a little bit too. We talked about the finals, but I met you when you were about 10 years old. We talked about it the other day, and you loved roping, but your dad was really into it. Like he's seen the fire in you, and it's like you kept him going right there as far as roping, and kind of pushing him a little bit in his roping. And then a little bit later on in your career, we can talk about Cimarron a little bit, but let's talk about the early days.
Early days was usually like early mornings before Dad would go to work. It was practice and then practice again that night. I mean, we went hard. I remember at one time we had a practice head horse that we called Bucky that would get 60 a night, but somebody told us last night, it was kind of wild that I had forgot about it. He said, "Do you remember when Coleby was little and asked how y'all were practicing?" He said, "I just put it on the chute a bunch so I know he's getting a throw." And he would go turn every steer he wrote plenty good enough, but it wasn't about him at all. He made it a priority to make sure I got the most good looks that I could get.
That's awesome. And like, when did Simran come in your life? Was he about 14 years old? So I'll start with Simran a little bit. Simran, I got Simran from Colin Von Ong, and then one of the better years I had at the finals in 2007. I finished up reserve world
That
champion.
Snoop?
That's what he called Snoop. Yeah, I
Snoop.
called him Cimarron, and from the Cowboys. I kind of always had that. Yeah, but and then about what time did you get him?
I got Cimarron in 2010, so
14 years ago. Huh?
yeah, I mean, I might have been 11, 12, 10, 11, 12 years old. That was like right when, because junior rodeo, and I was heading, heeling, roping calves, goat tie, the whole deal. And it was about then that I kind of said, heeling, like, this is what I want to do, and I want to make a career out of this. So we kind of thinned out the herd of anything that wasn't going to get me where I needed to go. And Cimarron was the first game changing type horse we bought. And
Okay.
I think a few months later, I won a truck.
Yeah. So like, I want to talk about this. I hope it's okay. We talk about the money about that horse. You bought that horse for 50,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your dad called me and talked to me about that. He says, is it a lot of money to be spending for my 12-year-old kid to be going to these rodeos?
Yeah, that would be any parent's question, right?
He
50,000.
called me and wanted to know how the horse was, safe and all that stuff, because you got another horse from Patrick Smith as well. You have a lineup of heel horses right there that were top dollar heel horses. But as what the point I'm getting is your dad got you these horses, and it just set you up for the future. You had this plan when you were a little boy. Your dad seen that in you, and he set you up for success, and you took it and ran with it. That's what I'm really proud of you.
I had the best chance right there, and I really feel like you have horses, even some of our good horses today, like you have horses that at certain times feel really good, like when you're on with them, it's great or not. And Cimarron was that horse that if you're in a slump, like he's gonna take you back and get you catching 2 feet again. He was that horse is what taught me how to heel, I feel like.
At what point was it around that point that you decided that you could really make a career out of this? And how does it make you feel now that you come to the lights of Vegas? Even when Caesar was here, it's got to be so much different than when you were here. I mean, we walk through this Cowboy Christmas and they're just tripping over themselves to spend money at these booths, and they want to get your autograph. And at what point in your life were you pretty confident in I can make a living doing this? I can make a career out of this.
Really,
right about that time, dude.
About 14.
I mean,
when he was a little boy, man. I went
knew
to
that.
Seen him. It was like that.
I knew that I was gonna have a chance because we were pretty all in. Like this is what we want to do, and I would say but it was a stepping stone type deal for me. I know when I turned 18, I thought, here it is, like I'm ready to go, and I got beat down. You
got to put in your dues. Is what they call it.
There's so much more that goes into it than just healing steers, and then the different thing too is when you get out there in the summer, and it's taken me time to get better. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I've gotten better. Is there is no missing one and running back to the house and changing things. Like you might miss 4 in a row for first. It happens to everyone. It may not be the best look. Something happens, you mess up a few, and I think a lot of us, I for sure have been guilty of wanting to just change everything. You're like, I need to swing like this. I need to, and that's the change ropes. Borrow a horse. I've got 4 heel horses in the trailer. Borrow something, But that's where you go when you're out there mentally. And I think the experiences come with trust in the work that we put in at home, and yeah, I've had better luck going about it like that.
Yeah.
How much do you still practice at home, or just practice in general?
Um, I'm roping every day. I right now I've only got a couple of heel horses, so it's more of a quality over quantity. You know, like I've had the days of running 60, 80 a day for a long time, and for me personally, I'm not so there. There's times Clay has a bunch of horses, and if I've got some outside horses in or something, like we'll go at it all day. Now, some of that may be roping trotters or something, but when I'm at home, I'll have a header come over and I'll ride three good horses and run, you know, three on my bay, score some, get on my second, third string, a little bit younger horses, and I might run eight apiece on. You know, if I get 25 quality runs in a day, that's good enough for me. You know, and
You've been after horses. Like I followed your career real close, and like I've seen all these horses you brought up, and that's young horses too. You're after the next horse. I know this horse is going to do good for a little while, but I mean, you've rodeoed enough to know they, their knees give out, their ankles. You know, they're just horses, so you can only pound on them so hard at the rodeo when they give it up. So you're after the next horse. I call them war horses. To be out here in rodeo, to be in the building like you talked about, you walking around there, this sucker is fired up. And then when he hits the back of the box, he knew exactly what his job was. Back to
He
that
almost
guy.
probably calmed you down.
yeah,
Right? By
Yes.
just
yeah.
Yes.
Well, there-
That's a
there's
war horse.
nothing-
I
there's
call them war
nothing-
horses.
yeah.
Nothing worse than in that place of all places, but being in there and having to worry about anything for one, but more or less like what your horse is doing because it it's so important. I've learned like Rich Skelton, he calls me a lot, and like that's kind of my guy, you know. Like I like his thoughts on healing, and he said, "I'm telling you, no matter how strong you practice," he said, there's not a rodeo that they get out of the gates faster. He
No
said,
way.
I sent him my videos from the break in. He called me. He said, "Hey, looks good." He said, "But I'm telling you, do not underestimate this."
As fast
He
as
said,
you can.
"You get going." He said, "If you get going, everything's gonna be good." But
Your horse will rate if you leave a little bit early.
Yeah.
You see the street, he's
Mhm.
gonna rate, but leaving the back of the box is so hard.
yeah,
So man, that's like I said, that's awesome. So let's talk about your lineup. You got this horse. What you got another one here too? I'm sure.
I've got a 7-year-old sorrel that I call Donald. That is, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, like the wins I've had on the bay makes him that much more special. But I think the sorrel has potential to be that good. You know, and I've had enough older horses the last few years that I've kind of got to expose him a little, bring him back down. He's coming 8 this year, and now like I can tell he's hit another level of maturity that he's about ready for anything.
Hmm.
When you say you got two horses here, like when you're out traveling, do you take a couple horses with you?
2 to 3.
Just kind of to get them the miles and get them.
I don't take anything on the road to season them. I when I leave for the summer, it's what I'm going to battle with
Right.
pretty much because there's the first. I
Those
want
are
to
your
say
weapons you're bringing.
I want to say the first year that I went, I had Cimarron's sister, Fletch, the Pat Smith horse, another horse from Sean Grant. Um, I had 3 or 4 horses. I don't know anything. I'm a kid, and I get out there, and uh, after a week of pulling in somewhere at 3 o'clock in the morning and having to deal with 4 horses, and you're only riding one, you're like, man, this. How can I get some of these
Trying to
things
find
sitting
stalls.
home?
Yeah.
Or
So
you
you,
get knocked on your door, hey, a horse run through your hot fence, or
I always try to have a long score horse and a short score horse with me all the time. So two's a good number. Three's having like another horse to have around there that can do both, maybe. But yeah, it's over here though. It's stall situations. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that back there.
stalls, which Josh Sly's helping me this week. Stalls are not very big, so
Yeah, no,
it's important to have somebody that's all hands on deck over there, keeping shavings full, getting them out twice a
Out,
day,
yes.
just keeping them moving. Like my bays, he's coming 16, so like it's pretty important for him to kind of stay loosened up.
Hmm.
You said so, like your horse. You got that 3 o'clock in the morning knocking your door about your horse running off or something like that. I mean, you had a lot to season on that part of being out there on your own, your rig, keeping tires on.
So
I mean,
how old are you?
I'm 25.
So he says when I was a kid. I was gonna think he's 25, boys. Like that's how this rodeo will
You hit the road at 18.
18 was my first year.
Did you have any tire issues? Tires fall off? Have to learn a lot about that kind of stuff too.
I mean, we've all had. I don't really have any.
He keeps his stuff nice.
I try to keep my stuff pretty.
Stuff, man.
We heard that story yesterday. Had that power line, had the axle up. They drove
A
half the
bunch
way.
of ropes tying up an axle trying to get it.
I know
That was Colin Von Ong and Clayton Oz. Those are kind of more my age kind of guys. You know what I mean?
I know a couple years ago I was roping with Lightning and we buddied with Patrick and Tanner and we had. I think we were in Tanner's trailer and Tanner is
South Texas cowboy, man. You know?
he's like, we can take my rig, like, I'll tell me when it's time to get in, and I'll pack my head ropes and my horses, and let's go rodeo. Well, right on our 4th of July run, we have a blowout in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that's nice.
And we get out there, and Patrick's like, all right, I need your ramp and your impact and all your stuff. And he's like, let me go look around. So
Finds a rock.
we have nothing. So we take all of our saddle pads. We have like a bag of feed and some saddle pads out there and build a ramp. But we got back on the road. So then it wasn't long after that, Pat's like, all right, this is
We're gonna take.
and we had a driver at the time too, and he got us all a gift. He come back with those those plastic ramps you buy at Tractor Supply.
Electric impact wrench.
Electric impact wrench out there. What's some cool stories you got from traveling the road? I mean, you started at 18, you're 25 now. You got to remember them. These guys get on here that are Caesar's age, and we can't remember them. It's been too long ago. You got to be still fresh in your memory.
Yeah, I don't.
Especially being from Texas, you gotta like the summertime rodeos, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I've always been fond of Pendleton. That's one of the last rodeos in the Northwest. The weather's always nice. It's time to head home after that.
See, I've never been at a spot at Pendleton to be real. I'm just like ready to get it over with and get home. Like I've never went letter buckroom or I've never done.
It's not for a guy of your size, buddy.
When
it's more for bulldoggers. If you,
I like my hat.
I like my hat.
When I leave for the summer, it's pretty business. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe I
think somebody's making a career out of it. It's really good. It's a really good plan.
Yeah,
to leave and be all business. Where tonight game plans? You know what steer you're roping? What do you?
No steers yet. So I'm pretty sure tonight. So last night was a smaller but stronger pin. I heard tonight will be bigger, but maybe like more middle of the road, which is still a strong cow, but maybe not going to be as sharp as the steers last night. My goal, kind of our goal coming in here was to just kind of chip away, and I really want to win the average. I mean, that your game plan can change out here like that, I think, but we're not trying to do anything crazy. Like if we can just kind of chip away, like
I love your partner over here. He's a great header in this building.
Yep.
We'll talk about maybe him just a tick too.
Yeah, and that's nice. Like just to, if we try to do too much last night and say we miss, you kind of put yourself in a situation to draw on the better end, and things have got to go your way. So it's nice knowing that Clay. I mean, this is his 10th trip. He's not chomping at the bit like I want to get this go round. That
steer was pretty tough, man.
That steer was sharper, and I feel like he's gonna turn 10 in a row, and when we draw the one that is better, our time making the same run is gonna be good enough to place deeper in the round, and the ones that aren't, we'll knock them down hopefully. And come the last few rounds, I think if we're good in the average, and that's your only way to have a chance at the end. I feel
I'm telling you, that's the only way I think.
Is it just some of these guys' mentality to throw 3 coils? Because I was watching last night, first round, and I mean they're going at it like they're already out of the average and they're here to win 33,000. I mean, I watched a couple, and I mean I don't know. I mean I'm not going to call out anybody's names, but it's like, wow, why did you do that?
I think, and
Just from an average
they'll figure
fan.
it out. But I really saw it in the calf roping last night too,
Yeah.
and I heard some guys talking in the tent before the grand entry, and they're telling maybe Quaid. He said, "Hey, I'm telling you, if you think you broke the barrier, you're good, and if you know you're out, you're a mile late." And I seen it in the calf roping. Like, I think you almost have to feel for yourself, like how fast it actually happens, and like heading like whenever the best runs to me are when the guys really ding the barrier, they're right beside the cow, and that puts the steer in tow faster, and then a big finish, and
Nice handle.
I think that's what makes the difference is guys just getting a feel to hook it on them right there, short and controlled.
Yeah, I watched some of those guys, and it just, I mean, like I said, just from an average fan watching the finals last night, I was like, why are they going at it so hard in the first round?
And another thing too is, which I like it, is 33,000 a night. There's some guys that are gonna take their chances that have a fast enough run. Like, hey, if we
33,000, yeah.
if we can blast
So
60, I mean,
The average or three.
did T Wade and they go ahead in the world standings just like that one round? That's what I mean. It's not safe over here. Like, and I think it's really going to come down to the average title this year.
and it's still, even with the average in play, it seems like for the gold buckle, usually in the 10th round, there's 2 or 3 teams that are fighting. And so, guys, they've got the average at stake, but the gold buckle, what we all dream about, comes into play. Like, it may be a scenario like we need to win third or better. They're for a gold buckle or the average, they're not backing off. I mean it. I've been watching old NFRs, and there's been times in the last 3 teams might go 4-1, 4-2, 4-4. Like,
It's been going that
to where
way.
when you ride out after you watch the 10th round, you're like, all right, who won it? It's that close.
3 go round wins is more than the average percent pay.
Yep.
Yeah, that is true. Like, if you're watching the NFR, the best thing to hear as a fan watching the NFR in the 10th round is Joe Beaver say somebody get their calculator. Because you got no idea who won, right? And he's sitting there trying to figure it out. He can't figure it out. And, it, it is all you guys work so we can all watch, so we can all buy that stuff. It's a big vicious circle, and that makes the most fun for us to watch it.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back. Second part of Coleby Payne here at the Las Vegas Convention Center at the NFR. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. Last year, at the end of the year, there was a little controversy. Top 15 in the world make it. I'm going to let you and Caesar talk about what happened and kind of fill the fans in. Again, as an average fan, I say this all the time. To me, it looked like all that did was fire you up. But I'm going to let you guys talk about it a little bit.
Well, Kobe, we talked about this a little bit. I had a similar incident with the PRCA in 2014, and I had to audit. I got audited and had to kind of fight for my shot to the NFR, which I rightfully earned. And it's just kind of sometimes the rodeo count gets off, or trades and all that stuff. It gets pretty technical. Last year there was a computer. Was the whole kind of a crash at the computer system.
So what happened is, I've never really got to explain my side of what really happened. So yes, I keep up with my rodeos. I have every year that I've rodeoed, but I've never been in a situation that the last week I was too concerned about what I had left. It made me no difference. Well, come Pendleton week, I'm calling. Jake Smith enters us, we buddy with him and Doug, and so I'm calling because I've got my sheet and I want to confirm. So I'm calling. What am I at? I mean, I I kind of went back to count, and I think it was like 10 or 12 times. It was a bunch, and then I know a few times Clay called, "Hey, I just checked. We're all good." So they told me a number. Um, I'll tell you how my deal happened. So I don't know if you guys remember last year, for like 2 weeks, the system got hacked. You couldn't pull up standings.
And by the system, for the fans at home, basically, you guys are tracked on a computer system by the PRCA, correct? On how many rodeos you can go to because you can
Right.
only go to so many.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, so things were old school. Jake was calling to enter us, and there was no text message through the website. Like, I write my rodeos down. When I enter a rodeo, as soon as I hit enter, I get a text message, confirmation number, da 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 da.
That says you're entered in the
So Canby, Oregon was during the shutdown, and we were kind of like Caldwell week, like us guys just getting a rig together and go, So I didn't write down Canby, Oregon, never crossed my mind. So there's where my mistake came in right there. Well, come Pendleton week, I called and they told me they were off one also, a winter rodeo. So it was the perfect storm. We're both off one, and then I've called 10, 12 times. Clay's called because he had one less than me. He said, hey, we're all good. And we were in a spot that, like, $200 was important to us. It was going to come down to the very end. So the last week, we enter Stephenville, Omaha, Pasadena, Amarillo, Sioux Falls was going to be 75. Well, we go from Pasadena, we charter to Omaha that had, I think, Omaha maybe added 3,000, 4,000. It had 11 or 12 teams, but it was something we could physically get to. Like, if we go over here and win 500, like, we're not going to miss the NFR with a bullet left by a couple $100. So we do it all. We get to Sioux Falls, we win the first round over there. That's 10,000. So done deal.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, the next morning, my phone starts ringing. Why is your money not in? I'm like, who cares? Like, it's over. Like, it happens all the time. You get in there and somebody will be overpaid or underpaid, or somebody's just like, it kind of funny. This year, whenever we flew back to Pasadena, and my money from Mandan, which is what I knew had me over the hump, I was good. It wasn't in, and I called Steve,
You're like, not again.
PRCA, and I said, Steve, of all people,
Don't do it to me again, dude.
of all people on that standings website, I said, I'm not the guy to be playing with right now. And we can laugh about it now. He started laughing. He said, I will handle this first thing in the morning. By 8:15 in the morning, he had texted me, everything is good to go.
He probably seen your number come up and go,
So,
why?
I know they felt bad for that whole deal, and like you keep going about that deal. Like,
anyways, so by that afternoon, you know how rumors spread. Colby's out of rodeos, da 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 da. And Clay don't get worked up about much. He's like, who cares, dude? Like, we're good. Like, this is normal. I know it's your first time. Like, you're panicking. Well, anyways, nothing ever changes. So come Monday morning, I get home, and so that, like, Friday morning after we win the first round, I call up there, and now I'm like, hey, double check, because like one of my biggest fears ever is like fat thumbing when you enter on your phone and hit unofficial. Like, I said, hey, I did official this rodeo. They sent me screenshots. I had screenshots. They said, yes, like, congratulations, you're fine. So you're at 73 and you have two that hasn't processed. It's Pasadena and Sioux Falls. We're good. I bet we called, my dad was with us 8 times that day, just making sure.
Just to double check?
Double check. So everything's good. Well, come Monday morning, I think what happened, maybe Matt Sherwood calls me and he says, hey, did you get an NFR packet? And I'm like, no. Well, I called Steve and I said, Steve, I've been waiting long enough. I said, dig into this for me. And I said, everybody's gotten their NFR packet and I haven't got one. He said, man, I'm sorry. Like, that shouldn't have been sent already. Don't worry. Congrats. I saw you up there. Good work. Okay. Well, that afternoon he calls me and says, hey, that was your 76 rodeo. And I had already started going through, like, I've got a book of my rodeos and on my phone. I've got two because if I have two, like, it's easier for me. If I miss one but have it on I can put it together. And so find out Sioux Falls was my 76 rodeo. I said, man. So I dig into it and he calls me again and I said, Steve, I was, I said, I don't know how any of this works. I said, but I have so many confirmation numbers. I said, I have all this stuff. Not one time on any of these calls I had did they say, hey, this is unofficial information. And it does say on the website on your deal, but when you call up there, I'm expecting them to have a system right there where they pull it up and say, hey,
As they should, right?
this is what you're at, and where it's confusing is rodeo's ending. So all right, so like she said, you're at 73. There's two not processed, and that's the season's over. There's no more rodeos to get to. And he said, Colby, we gave you bad information. I said, well, see you next year. And he said, no. He said, you need to fight for this. And I said, well, what do I do? And he said, well, you're going to have to go through a grievance process. He said, and he was understanding about it. I mean, they have a job to protect themselves, just like I'm going to fight for myself, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, go through the grievance process. He said, I know you wouldn't have entered a $1,100 rodeo going to a $40,000 rodeo. He said, that's common sense. And so I file my first two grievances, which goes to the CEO, Board of Administration, and they have to decline. So this whole grievance deal took a couple months. Well, they said, all right, you've got like, I don't remember the exact date. Say it was like November 18th or something to have your third grievance turned in, or it's a wash. I said, I'm done. I own up to my mistake. Like, here's why your system shut down. And one, I was told bad information. I don't love that, but I understand too. Like, we keep up with our rodeos. So I'm like, whatever, because it was starting to turn into a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It was just the beginning. So November 18th, Tom Glaus calls me and he said, hey, Colby, he said, today's your last day to turn in your step 3. I said, Tom, I said, I'm toast. I said, I'm done riding this emotional roller coaster. I said, see you next year. And he said, no. He said, we agree. You need to fight this. And I said, Tom, I said, I feel like y'all are patting me on the back. Like, what? I said, I'm fine. I'll be back. He said, Colby, I'm telling you, please, one more time, fight for this. He said, because now you get in front of some cowboys that can hear your side of the story and you've got a chance. So I sent it in. Now we're getting close to like time to head to Vegas. So we have a Zoom meeting. Another grievance committee board comes on a Zoom call. Past world champions, stock contractor. Da 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 da. We tell my side of the story, and obviously one thing that I'm asked is, do you not keep up with your rodeos? And these are old school guys that I didn't like my odds going into it because I know number one thing is, do you not keep up? And I said, yes, I do. Here's all my stuff. This is why. Well, it kind of turned in, and I think this year I've noticed some delays in things like the NFR packets. PRCA, I think, maybe was a little bit of an eye opener. Don't jump the gun before all this gets started. But there was a few things that he hit on that need to improve. They have 3 audits throughout the year, one after the winter, one after the spring, and one on the 4th of July. The rodeo they missed on my end was from January, I think. And so we're like, how does it not pick it up in the audit until the last one that matters when it's too late? And so on the phone call deal, one of the guys said, so these phone calls up there that I'm sure we have confirmation numbers for every call that you've gone back and listened to. Said, do you tell Colby in these phone calls, hey, this may not be official information, and no, I didn't hear that in any of these phone calls. And he said, well, here's the deal: is if we can't call up there and get accurate information, we don't need to talk to you guys whatsoever. And they said, well, how do you get the accurate number? And she said, well, you can ask to be sent to management, and I'll log into a different system and I'll pull it up right there. And they said, do y'all tell the Cowboys that? And she said, no, we have 6,000 members, so we kind of keep it on the down low. And that was I felt like right then that's a push for me, because we're the reason they have a job.
1,000%.
And we
Glad you said that.
we put a lot into this, and we pay a membership due. When we call, we want to know
Accurate information. I mean,
we want to know what's going on. So when that happened, I'm like, hey, that anybody that has or is doing this for a living, hears someone say we have 6,000 members, we keep it on the down. Like, basically, we don't want to take the time. That's
bullshit.
But they don't mind taking your money.
Yeah, that hits.
That's very wrong.
So, anyways, I win. I'm in. I'm thinking 16 guys.
That's what we thought.
I was never against Worley, because it wasn't his fault that he went to the correct amount of rodeos.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? It's
fair and square.
No problem there. And then the hate that I got off the deal, and I mean, you could ask any of the guys. I was done trying.
Mm-hmm.
The main man said, you gotta fight. I think you got a chance. I mean, I had no idea, but I didn't get a slap on the back for it, but if they said, hey, we're sorry, here's your fees money for a year, this is best we can, something.
Well, when we were
Nothing.
talking about it, everybody's like, "Oh man, this guy is going to have his chance at the NFR." But the way I looked at it was the amount of money of potential sponsorships you lose by not
I knew
making-
that they were going to allow that.
Yeah.
They when I had my deal in 2014, it was the same thing. They're not going to allow. They did it in Saddle Bronc Riding, I think, a while back, and maybe in the Rough Stocks. They
I'm
will
pretty
not
sure
do
so.
it in the timed event.
Like
Will
you
not
said,
do it.
when this was going on, this was after the last rodeo before the NFR. There's only 2 months right there in between. So you're doing all this bullshit in your
Same
mind.
thing with me. It was like 10 days
Well,
before the
my grievance
NFR.
process. So I started when I got home. So October 1st, I had a grievance filed. It was November. It was 7 days before the first round, I think.
You know what I mean? You got
It
all
was
that
10
on your
days when they
mind.
Finally told me I could go.
7 days before the first round, when in, out, we're going to practice today. And then the last day, I bought steers right away, set my arena up. Clay's coming down, and Clay's pulling in my driveway, and he's pulling up to the barn. And I just got an email from the lawyer, and not good. And that hurt. Just because I could have been done with it the day I got home.
Yeah.
It could have just been over with. And
We talked to Clay a little bit last year. It kind of hurt Clay's feelings a little bit too.
Clay's getting out, and I just started unsaddling my horses, and I was sick.
I want her up today. I want her up every single day, but not today.
It was 30 seconds after I got that email, and I said, hey,
Not today.
not today. I said, I'm going to take a little break right here. I was very mad at it.
Yeah.
And I think how this guy.
That channeled your anger, because I talked to you a lot this year, and man, good healing. You're looking great. It started off at the very first rodeo, Odessa. And every time Clay turned you a steer, it was for money. It was, we talked about the buckle you're wearing at the RS Pro. I got to watch every one of your runs because I was bringing up cattle. I've been taking a little bit of a break from rodeoing for a little while because it kind of burnt me out a little bit. I was having a hard time with it. Every time I'd go, my boys were growing up, and I was missing that. So I was just angry at roping so I needed to get home. And so I was watching you from the back end, bringing up cattle. Like, man, I've seen that look before, man. That looks a lot like me, man. You were mean, mad at the feet every time one turn. Like, you were just laying the steer down. I love to see that, man. And then last night, man, like I said, it brought a tear to my eye. I was so proud of you, man. That was so awesome to see.
It's
Like,
pretty-
that was what you fought for last year. You didn't get it, and it almost. I know you wanted to be here last year, but it made you a better healer.
for sure.
Because of-
I don't feel
Probably a
like
better
it's
person, better man. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
All the way around.
Yes, all the way around. It was
I don't know about better, but it let me know where I stand with a bunch of people, and this is for me and my crew. You know, like the opinions of everybody else.
right there last night.
It
That was
it
for
means
everybody.
nothing. You know,
No.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like I said, I was
when you're down, they'll kick on you, and when you're up,
Yeah,
good
dude.
job. And now I know very clearly who my
sure.
circle
Yes.
is. You know,
and like man, it's a tough deal, but like this is your dream. This is what you want. You can't let anybody else like backing in the box over there at the national finals. Really, that feeling. You can't get that nowhere else. It's like screw all the
competed-
haters. This is what it's all about, right?
I've competed at every rodeo.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that come out here and watch that think they understand that might go to the World Series on the weekend. Like, big deal. I mean,
Dude, you have no idea, man.
like I've made the American. Houston is one of those rodeo. Prior to here, Houston's one of them rodeos. You get that feeling like you're gonna make sure that everything's on point
Yeah.
at Houston. You know,
It's a different feeling.
and you get in there and it's a whole nother level.
That's
you
crazy.
know,
Is that your regular season favorite rodeo?
I think so.
Yeah, that is a cool.
Houston.
Yeah,
Houston.
just like riding up, it's the AT&T Center. You're like, wow, man, I can't believe humans can make something like this.
It's
It's
big.
huge, man.
They take care of us like it should be. You pull
Everybody
up
says that
and
about
they-
Houston. Everybody literally says that about
Stalls are knee deep in shavings. They feed you 3 meals a day. You know,
Yeah.
like they make you feel like they appreciate us being there.
Like the horses, they have turnout pins, and they got like a lot where you can build hot wire, or you can just if nobody's out there, turn them out. It's like an acre lot.
That's
you know?
cool.
Pay us every night, sign autographs, a good concert.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's like I said, that's one of my favorite regular season rodeos too. Like I know I talk about Pendleton a little bit, but man, like
He loves Pendleton. Don't let him.
I-
Don't
I'm
let him.
not
I'm not.
He
dude,
loves it.
Man, I just love it just so much. It's just wild, just getting out there in the bull riding over there, and they got
Is
just
that
the
where you got hit in the head with the
pipe.
bell?
I did that
No, but
once.
I mean, I would have took one over there, Pendleton, for sure, man. It would have made for a heck of a story.
Yeah.
But no, Trisha, like, she's gotten wiped out over there, at Pendleton, over there by Saddle Bronc course. It's funny,
Jeez.
but man. Like this is what it's all about. You know, the people, like you talked about, the haters out there. You got to really channel that.
Man, if you
into-
don't got haters, you're not doing it right.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
telling you.
exactly right.
and like
Hating on us.
Yeah.
like I've been watching your career really, really close. I mean, from a little bitty boy now, and like, man, you're here. It's really cool to see. And like, shout out to your dad. Like, he's been your biggest
He sure
supporter
wanted
since
to
day
come on
one.
and tell us
man.
that
This
story.
guy,
We had to hold him
Yeah.
back. Had to have security hold him
behind the
back.
scenes, he'd call me quite a bit, making sure, like, hey, man, like, keep an eye on him over there. I'd go over there and check in on you and make sure you're doing good. But man, I'm proud of you. This is, like I said, it's like almost a little brother over here at the NFR. It's really cool.
It's
We'll
awesome.
go get you another one tonight, huh?
Yep.
All right, buddy.
Keep chipping.
Thanks for coming on.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And Colby.
Yes, sir.